So this series of videos is going to introduce ways of optimizing and improving the speed and performance of a very simple simulation. So we're going to start just looking at the simulation running. So by default, this is the very simple simulation. You can see here that at the moment it's 2000 particles. We've got a draw that's taking about 900 microseconds, sort of fluctuates as we go through, and the update for 2000 particles is about 104 microseconds. And you can see all I'm doing basically is running these particles to update their position and speed each frame. You can see they're just moving along through like this and going in a particular direction, and then when they reach one of the walls they do a very simple reflect, and you can see that the object bounces off. You'll also notice there's a very strange artifact when drawing. I'm not 100% sure. When you zoom in you can see that they are drawn as lines. This is all generated on the geometry shader, as we'll look at later, but as we get to a certain clipping distance we seem to get two lines, so there's some issues there with the clipping which I must resolve later. At the moment though, this is just about the simulation and doing fast simulations. There are a series of command line parameters. We can do the width, so we can set the width of the simulation, the height of the simulation, and minus n for the number of particles. So we can do something smaller, and there you can see it's just running very small, and you can see all of those lines just being drawn there and so on. And more importantly, we can do sort of bigger simulations, and for the borderline of what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do 1 followed by 4, 5, 6, so 1 million particles. You'll see that the startup time for this is a lot slower, but once it gets going you can see that it's doing some work. It's interacting a bit, but you can see that this is me trying to manipulate and move in real time, and actually it grinds to a halt with this small amount of particles. So what we're going to look at is how we can improve both the draw performance and the update in performance for this simulation as we go through. And just to sort of show this with less, so there's 10,000 particles, you can see that, you know, that's working particularly well. Even up to something like 100,000 particles, we're not going to cause too much issues. We're just beginning to struggle a little bit, but that's running fairly well with our standard sort of simulation running there. But obviously we want to do many millions of particles, and we're going to look through and see how we can build a system that will allow us to do that as we gradually go through lots of these different demos. So that's an overview of the program. What we'll look at next is an overview of the different elements of source code for the program and the modules that build it up. This is a standard Qt QOpenGL window application that I use in quite a lot of my lectures, so it should be something familiar. It's using the NGL library. As we'll see, we'll begin to use elements of NGL and then elements of other things as we go through to improve the performance. And the next video is just going to talk over the sort of basic structure of the code. And there you can see things in action there, sort of moving in particular ways and so on. So that's the start of our project there. We're going to build on this as we go through the series of videos.